Hey everyone, this is Andrew from Private Investigator Advice, and this is the Private Investigator Advice podcast. This is going to be episode 79. The title of this podcast is What is Skip Tracing? A lot of people want to know that, right? It's a word that just I don't think a lot of people know. But before we get into that, just want to let you know this is brought to you by Private Investigator Advice. Private Investigator Advice has templates available for new businesses. It's also, some of these templates are even good for people just getting into the industry if they want to, especially the surveillance template that I created. So if I could talk about that for a second, the surveillance template I built, I've been using surveillance templates for, 13, 14 years. And I know what needs to go into them. And also, just to do one better, I even added an example report to help you understand what goes where. And then to do one better, I added a video walkthrough to kind of explain things, why this is here, to give you an idea of that stuff. And also the video walkthrough helps you make sure you know how to put pictures into it and things like that. So I've created 3 templates so far. It's December 2017. We have the intake sheet to help you gather information from your client. Make sure you have everything you need from not only them, but of the person you're going to be investigating if that's the case. We have the retainer agreement. Love that. I believe it's 8 pages of terms, conditions, getting you ready, making sure your client understands what this is all about and what you're supposed to do and what they're supposed to do. And obviously what you're supposed to be paid and things like that. And of course the surveillance template I just talked about. So you can get the bundle, you save a little bit of money, or you can buy each one individually. It's up to you. So again, that's it from the Private Investigator Advice plug there. Okay, so let's get into this podcast here. What is skip tracing? I kind of talked about this earlier. I don't like that word. It's not used a lot other than in the private investigation industry or the investigation industry itself. But the word itself, it really refers to locating somebody. And it's used by people like private investigators, bounty hunters, debt collectors, or just anybody who knows it in this industry most of the time. I don't like it because, like I said, nobody outside the industry knows it, and it just sounds weird to me. Like, just when you're talking to like a client, I'm not going to use the word skip trace. I'm going to say I'm going to try to locate someone for you, or are you looking to locate somebody? I've never had a client go, "Hey, are you a skip tracer?" Just never happens, at least not with me. So, anyways, so what's the skip tracing definition? Some people say the word skip relates to someone skipping out of town, and the word trace refers to tracing or tracking down an individual. That's how, from my research, that's kind of how the word came about. When I was working for a company, one of the managers was like, "Hey, the client is tracing," and I said, "What do you mean the client's tracing?" And he's like, "Well, he's tracing down a file. Like he wants to know where we are on it." And that's the only other times I've really heard those words. I've really heard that word again in regards to tracing down a file. I think that might have been that specific manager's lingo. Anyways, when I think of skip tracer, I think of somebody who is searching for someone that's hard to find, but that's not necessarily the case. Really, could just be finding somebody. So some people are easier to find than others, as you can imagine. And, that could depend on the skill of the investigator or, because some people might just be better at finding people than other people. But everybody should know how to be a skip tracer or locate somebody. Like it's really part of the job. It's just one of the things you kind of have to know how to do for various reasons. If you're in surveillance, you need to make sure that your person lives where they say, or the client says they live. You need to confirm these things. And if they don't live there, you got to find them. If you're in claims or if you're just trying to find someone in general throughout an investigation, it's going to take those skills to find them to complete the actual part of the job. So you got to find them just to be able to interview them and things like that. So, I think in my experience, when you're working an assignment where it doesn't have to be covert, like you don't have to do it sneakily. Is that a word? Sneakily. It's a little bit easier to find someone, right? Like if it doesn't require me to be sneaky, right? If I can just be straightforward, it's easier to figure things out. Whether things, anyways, when you got to be sneaky, then it gets a little more harder, right? A little more difficult because you're trying to find them out without them know, or find out where they are without them knowing that you're trying to find out, and so that can be tricky sometimes. And that's kind of like where the art form comes into play, right? Like, everybody says that being an investigator or even doing surveillance, that's an art form. Finding people can be an art form as well. Some of the skills it requires, you got to piece together information that's not obviously linked, right? There's not some little trail you follow and then, oh, there they are. Sometimes it's a web of information. You're trying to take different pieces of information and link them together. And let me just kind of get into some of that, the way we kind of find people and we connect that web of information. It can come from like sources like these are like data sources. Some people call them that, or credit header sources. IRB, Skip Smasher, TLO. You can look these up on your own, guys. Tracers. I just signed up for Tracers recently. This is going to help you. Well, first of all, long story short, it can provide these comprehensive reports. It gives you kind of like an address summary based off of credit, people paying bills from, and other sources, can help you find out where they have criminal records, and some of them provide vehicle information. It's a great source. Every private investigator uses it, and uses sources like this. We also connect information through public sources, public records rather. We use social media, Facebook, Twitter. I don't use MySpace anymore, but if I get super, super desperate, I might refer to MySpace, maybe looking for old pictures or stuff like that. Obviously, I've YouTube. Some people, I don't know, Snapchat. I don't have Snapchat. I probably should get it because that might be a thing for me to be investigating. Musically, that's another social media source. You can also find out information from family members, neighbors, vehicle information, pretexting. I wrote a big article about that. I'll link to that. Property records helps me. Criminal records, court records, permits, licensing, just general searching, Google online, Yahoo, Bing, you name it. So anyways, any one of these sources can help connect the dots to maybe help you find another avenue to find out where somebody is. And so, we're in a different age now. When I first started in this industry, Facebook wasn't there. And so we invested, we found people various different ways. It wasn't Facebook though. And, we had to piece things together and everything was kind of a puzzle, and there's still puzzles out there, right? But Facebook's made it much easier for anybody to kind of find people these days. But even knowing Facebook, there's still tricks to that to find people. Anyways, I think a lot of it comes with time and experience. And I mean, even when I first started using those databases, before I even had my own business, when I was a manager, I had to kind of figure it out on my own, and how, learning how reliable they are and how to interpret certain information. And that was me, taking the information, then using it, and then how did that case unfold, and how did that work, and how did I find the person, how accurate was that, when you can actually find that kind of stuff out, then you can kind of see how reliable these sources are. So anyways, we're going to move on to how do you become a skip tracer. So how do you become someone who finds somebody? That's really what that should mean. There's many books out there. There's, seminars you can participate in. These can kind of help provide some foundation for you. I don't know if there's any formal school. It's just the skip tracing school, finding people school. I don't look at it that way. I look at it if you can maybe take an investigator class or something like that to get that kind of information. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe I just haven't come across it. But finding people is really kind of one of those core things that investigators have to know. So maybe you can get that through an investigator course. I haven't taken any, so I can't recommend any that might teach that stuff. But maybe I'll be the guy that teaches you that. Maybe that's how it'll go. Anyways, when it comes down to it, like I was telling you earlier, a lot of it is looking at information, connecting the dots, analyzing it, and who knows? Maybe you can even find a company that's willing to train you in that stuff. And working for an insurance investigation company would be a good start because it'll that would give you some practical experience in finding people, because you do have to do, in most cases, a preliminary investigation, and that should be kind of like your beginning of a foundation for that stuff. I find information all the time, even new information or new ways of finding stuff all the time. So even when you start to learn how to find people, there's always going to be some new trick, right? You're always going to be somebody who knows one extra trick more than you, and you're just going to add that to your repertoire into finding people. But you're always going to be learning new things. There's always going to be new laws. There's always going to be new sources. There's always going to be new technology, and you need to make sure you, as an investigator or skip tracer, you're always staying up to date with that kind of stuff. So, you can be good at what you do. Just to talk about a few companies that might need skip trace. Boy, I'm just talking too fast tonight. Some companies that might need skip tracers would be private investigator companies, bounty hunters, debt collectors, repossession companies need skip tracers. Any company needing to locate somebody could use a skip tracer, right? A person locator. Now, I don't know that all skip tracing opportunities are good ones. So from what I've understand, because this isn't how it always worked for me, but just talking to some other people in the industry, some people are paid upon locating an individual. Some people get paid well because they're very good at it. But that really depends on how many individuals you find, right? And that could be for a debt collector. Sometimes the pay isn't worth the amount of work that you do, right? So you want to keep that in mind. Whatever opportunity you're given, you really need to weigh, weigh the kind of job that it is and the salary, whatever. It's going to have to be good for you. It's going to have to work for you. I don't know every job out there that just is specific to finding people, but the ones that I gave you are some of them. There's always going to be some job that I don't know about. What's the job outlook? That'll be the next topic here. What is the job outlook for a skip tracer? When I wrote this article originally, they said skip tracing industry is a mix between bill and account collector, a private investigator, and a bounty hunter. And the 2015 job outlook for the bill and account collector, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, indicates that the median pay in 2015 was $34,440, which is $16.56 an hour. It was an entry level education to get into it. So it said there was 350 jobs in 2014 for this type of under this category. So I mean, 1656. That was a couple of years ago. It's probably gone up a little bit more. It's just something to think about if that's the average pay. Let's see here. In 2015, the job outlook for a private investigator, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, indicates the median pay was in 2015 was $45,610 or $21.93 an hour. There were 34,900 jobs in 2014 for private investigators. This is also an entry-level job as well, requiring a high school diploma in most cases. I haven't studied or figured out every requirement for every state in the United States, but that's generally the case. I do know that college, just to jump real quick, I do know that college education can substitute for experience when it comes to licensing sometimes. So anyways, just jumping into this real quick, a skip tracer can only get so far from behind a desk. So skip tracing isn't going to be, and I hope I didn't make you think that it was, because I might have insinuated that as I've talked to you this podcast here, but it isn't just from behind the desk job. There's going to be some point where In order to find somebody, someone's going to have to go somewhere and pull some records or go to a residence and talk to neighbors. So um, sometimes you're going to have to physically be in that location, and maybe you hire someone to do that, or maybe you're the person doing that, but somebody's going to have to do it. I think my last bit of advice about skip tracing, and I say this a lot to everybody, in this, I mean, you can make a good living, and I mean, there's always gonna be somebody that's gonna say, "No, Andrew, I made $80,000 as a skip tracer, and I worked for a company." And if that's the case, that is so awesome. I'm very happy for you. But that is not, in my experience, that is not like everybody's making $80,000 working for somebody as a private investigator, as a skip tracer, or whatever. Um, Generally speaking, that's usually not how it goes. And I even provided some statistics for you to back up my statement here. My biggest advice is to take whatever knowledge you learn. So if you do become a skip tracer or finding somebody or private investigator, whoever, whatever, if you are an employee for a company, I would let that be the training for you to start something of your own at some point. And it doesn't have to be full time. You don't have to be a private investigator, a business owner full time. You could be a part-time business owner, and you could do your stuff on the side as you build more knowledge and confidence and all that kind of stuff. But you once you do your own thing, and once you get your own client, and once you realize you're like, oh my God, I just did the same thing that I did for the company that I work for on my own, and I made twice as much. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, what else can I do on my own business, right? And then you're going to get excited about it. You're like, I did the same work and made twice as much. Wow, let me get serious about this. You're going to love it. So anyways, I just give you some books to consider. If you're interested in the skip tracing industry, I always recommend the Complete Idiot's Guide to Private Investigating. I read this book at the beginning of my career, and he's put out some new editions that I haven't read yet. I'm sure that's updated to today's time. I'm assuming, written by a very intelligent, smart private investigator. I think his name is Scott Brown. Maybe not. I don't know. He's good though. Anyways, definitely check that book out. If you go to my resources page on the Private Investigator Advice website, I have a link to that. It's an affiliate link. Let's see here. Investigator's Little Black Book. Still pretty relevant if you want to, if you just look, it's more of like a reference to go through and check. If you want to search different things, who you would call, you'd have to take a look at it. It's super cheap, not a big investment. Another book is How to Do a Background Check. I can't remember the author on that. I did read it. There were a couple nuggets in it. Again, I'll try to link to that in the video notes, and I'll refer you to the article as well, where some of these links are at. There was another book that I came across, Skips Tracing Secrets. I haven't read that yet. Anyways, I hope that kind of gives you a start. Definitely, I think one of the cool things is, and I haven't read all the PI books out there, but usually most of them aren't a big investment, especially if you get the ebooks, the online books through Amazon. I have a Kindle Fire. I've talked to you guys about this before. I get a lot of books for cheap that are Kindle only books. That might have a physical book, but I can get it for like, maybe the physical book's $12. I get the Kindle book for like $3. It's the same darn thing. I just get it on my Kindle Fire. So, anyways, have I done an Audible? I don't know if I've done an Audible. I've done an Audible plug here. Listen, guys, since we're already talking about the Kindle and Amazon, Amazon owns Audible. Audible's offering a 30-day free trial. They're going to give you a book, let you try it out for 30 days. And if you don't like the service, you don't like Audible books you can listen to on your phone, books that are Audible, then you can cancel before the 30 days is over. You don't charge you nothing. You get to keep the book. Find a book that's good for you. It's going to be www.audibletrial.com/PIA. That's letting them know that I sent you over there. I'm an affiliate. If you decide to just do the trial, you don't have to even subscribe. If you just do the trial, I will receive a commission for you just checking it out. So we thank you, and I thank Audible. I thank Amazon. I thank them all for just checking it out, guys. I appreciate everything. This was episode 79. I hope this provided some information for you that you're interested in. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, what you could do is go over to iTunes, give me an honest review, or whoever you subscribe to, if they allow you to do it on there. Just give me a fair evaluation, a fair review. That'd be super cool. And that's it, guys. I guess I'm just going to see you on the next one. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you later.